hey, hey.
How are you today?
Oh, it's a rainy day and I'm sleepy.
Man, we got woke up at 5 o'clock this morning by a dog. I gave him some of his pills, and he's been drunk ever since. So he just kind of was out just wandering in the rain before I had to go get him. So
Lucky
come on,
dog.
yeah, he's a drunk dog, but he's not crazy every time the thunder goes out. So
Well, that's good.
yeah, that's the way that goes. Well, we got a pretty good show today. This is actually one of my favorite topics. It's interesting too because I was watching Good Morning America specifically to hear one of the sharks this morning. Lori, can't ever remember her last name, but she was on there and they were asking the sharks about marketing. And one of the things, so let me just put this up. We're choosing the right social media platform. And one of the things that she said, for the first time in history, you really don't need to do any other marketing except what's free to you, but it just takes some work. So it really is some really good advice if you are an extrovert, love doing. That's what I'm thinking. If you're somebody who loves taking selfies and loves being out, and talking and da da da, and people think you and I are extroverts because we do this, and we're really not.
No, I do this because I'm not an extrovert. This is
Yeah.
easier to do than going to parties every week.
There you go. Yeah.
Events and-
Yeah. No, I'm with you. But the honest truth is, there's a lot of opportunity on social media if you know how to do it, where to go, who to go, all that kind of stuff. So, that's just one of those things that if you have the time, the inclination, and can put everything together, yes, you can do a lot of marketing on your own without paying anybody else. But
yeah,
when
and
you
I
don't
think
pay anybody else, there's time.
exactly the trade-off is time, right? And quite honestly, you and I have seen that the business owners who have something to say, who are extroverted, who are who enjoy getting on social media and doing their own social media. Heck, even if they don't enjoy it, but they're doing it themselves, they tend to get more traction, more return on the time spent in doing it than if an agency was doing it for you, unless you're paying. I mean, some of the big thought leaders and the authors and best-selling authors and stuff, they hire people that they pay tens of thousands of dollars, to run their social media campaigns and be on all the platforms. And they probably get pretty good results. I would hope so for that kind of money. But they're also a name brand, and people tune in and listen just because of who they are. So,
So the other part of this I think is worth mentioning is a lot of things that you're talking about are product based and they're done with influencers. So
Right.
you can become an influencer for your own business. Um, it's a little bit different. So as we talk about this, I actually went in and did some research on some of our clients this morning who I know are really big in social. And so I'm gonna tell you what some of the results are, which were fascinating, because I haven't looked in a while. So I went and looked, and it was like, this is interesting.
Cool.
So let's jump in really quick because I think this is really important. Is who's your target audience? Who are the people that are calling you to do what you need done in your home, business, whatever? Who are those people? If you are marketing baby food and doing that to, I don't know, the people that are all in AARP, that may not be your best use of, marketing baby food to that target audience. Now, could you get some business from it? Sure, maybe. I mean, they've got kids and grandkids that are having children. They may, say, hey, you might want to look at this baby food. It's like, would you market cat food to dog owners? Maybe if you have, if you can cross pollinate and they can get in there and see if you got dog food, but is that a good use of time and money?
I think every dog owner knows that their dog would rather eat cat food.
That is true. That is true. I got pictures of Bogey.
Yeah.
He just waits. In fact, this morning I told Marilyn, I said, do you realize why I don't believe that minds can move things? Because if they could, he would move that bowl right now. Because he's just so focused on it. So, yeah. But yeah, target audience is really important.
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky thing to get right, but because oftentimes the people that you want to do business with are not the kinds of people, or I shouldn't say that. How do I say this? Not all of the people that you want to do business with can be found on social media platforms. Oftentimes there's a segment of your desired customers that are not in what we're calling here the target audience. An audience on social media is a very distinct thing than, and it doesn't overlay completely one-to-one with your desired customer. But there's enough that you can do to find at least a substantial subsection or subportion of those that are overlapped that you can make it worth your while.
So the other thing I think that's really challenging is when you are a local company, which is what we deal with most often. You can find your target audience locally, but it's not going to have the same, hit, if you would. There's not going to be the same amount of people coming to you as if you had a target audience that was national or even global.
Yeah.
Which is the difference, between a makeup brand. I mean, I've had people say, well, XYZ makeup brand gets so many eyes to them and so much this and gets this and that and that. And we just aren't getting that. I'm like, yeah, you're not. You're never going to get that. I mean, you're just not.
No, it doesn't lend itself well to I mean, it's not the same kind of interest. The number of people that are interested in makeup tips versus the number of people interested in home services is pretty different.
Yeah, and the demographic is different. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that are different in those things. So there's a lot to think about. But is it worth getting your target audience right? Sure, absolutely.
So we should mention here that all the different platforms that are out there, each one of them is different in terms of the kind of audience that you can find, as well as the types of content. We're going to be talking about that next. And, but we need to be thinking about like your particular audience. Where do you find them? Do you find them on Facebook? Do you find them on Instagram? Do you find them on TikTok or, Pinterest, or, where are you going to find the people that you most want, in terms of the largest numbers possible, that you can address, so that's part of choosing the right platform, is knowing what kinds of people are on those particular social media platforms.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So you mentioned content, so let's just go into that. When people talk about content creators, it's really interesting to me. There are tons of different types of content creators. Okay. Content can be what you do on social media, that it can be articles, it can be ads, it can be graphics, there's a lot of things that can be considered content. So, types of content for what you do, a lot of times you need to think about encompassing your audience and attracting the audience that you're targeting with the right type of content. And what most people are finding is shorter content is better. You and I are a little bit different because we research things, but I'm loving the summarized stuff on AI, so I don't have to read the whole doggone article to get an idea. I can go through, get the summary, and then if there's something I want to dig in, I'll go find that section, and read further into that. But there's a lot of people, especially today, that is so trained to get just little bitty nuggets, just a chunk here, these things. I mean, their brains are almost, from what I'm reading, they're almost tuned, if you will, for really snippet content. However, if your target audience is between the ages of maybe 35 and 50, that may not be true.
Or as true.
Yeah. Or as true. Yeah. So I think that's the other thing about content, in relation to your audience that you have to think about. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're going to find people who are retired have more time to read a longer article. And may be genuinely interested in more how-to or the why behind a particular process that they've always wondered about, that you could describe related to your service. Whereas, working people, parents, I mean, they don't have time. And so if they're in social media, they're either there to get away from their life or they're there, just quickly moving through things. And so you've got a very limited window to address them and get their interest. I mean, we know video tends to work best of all of the types of content, but at the same time, shorter video definitely works better. And I would say that for home services, videos that are very short but explain something like a tip or an interesting, something about something that they care about that somehow intersects with what you do. Like I keep thinking of, one of the best ones that we ever did was for chimney services was how to pick the best firewood. And, what is the best firewood for your fireplace? And that got a lot of clicks. I mean, it got a lot of buzz and interest, and we did a lot of different things with it, infographics and videos and all of that. And any way we sliced and diced it, it tended to be pretty popular. And so things like that are common interest for people who are in the target market that you serve, the kind of content that helps you select the kind of person that you're interested in serving. In other words, the person who goes, "Ooh, that looks interesting," is going to be one that you want to serve because the content is related to exactly what you do.
And here's the other thing I find really fascinating. Just talking to my wife the other day, I asked her, I said, I know you love dog videos because that's what she shares with me more than anything else. But what other types of things do you that catches your eye? And so she showed me, she goes, I like very interesting artisan things, that have nothing to do with, home improvement. So she was showing me a guy overseas that does thatch roofs. That was just brilliant how he did that. I didn't even know that they had those anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they're like, I don't know, looks like 3 feet deep. And yeah, it's just very, very interesting. The techniques and all the different things that this guy did. But, to be a roofer and actually showing other techniques and other types of roofing throughout the world, I thought, man, that would be a really interesting tie-in, for roofing. So it's not always just about you creating the content. Sometimes it's about you finding interesting content in relation to what you do and sharing that content and kind of expanding other people's eyes into what else is going on out there. So I think that's another thing that you really want to look at. So I'm going to put Terry up here. He says, I know my target audience. I know that they're, more likely to be on Facebook and not necessarily Instagram and YouTube.
That's great.
So that's true. And knowing your demographic is key. So once you know that, then you know where you need to be. I mean, that's the first thing, is really knowing where you need to be. So that's a great deal, Terry. So the other thing I think is really interesting is engagement opportunities. And this is where I think it gets a little bit, everybody thinks that finding your audience, okay, I know my audience, I know where they are, I'm creating this content, and I see a lot of people that just let the content be out there. And I'm guilty of this with Spark Marketer. Because I don't like Facebook. I don't like social media. I've said that before. I'm on it. I try to get on it about once a week and like all the things I like and, kind of go through there. But I honestly don't care for it because there's so many things on it that just bore me to tears. And I'm, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything. It's just, to me, a waste of my time. So, if I'm interested in something, I'll be on it, for a while and read and whatever. But there's engagement opportunities there. And normally what has to happen is somebody tags me and says, hey, you need to go over here and look at this. So I'm not really good at this. So Carter, I don't know if you're any better at this than I am. I just know I'm not good at it, but there are things out there that you should be engaged, with your customers and with your prospects.
I mean, honestly, this forum right here doing live casts, I think this is probably my favorite kind of engagement with our target market. You get a chance to hear from them in real time. You get to hear their questions. There's a back and forth that's immediate, and I like that. It's to me a lot better than posting something and waiting for people to comment and then having to go back and read the comments and post a reply or weed out the people who took it in a political direction, or what I mean. It's like, this is just, it's boom, one and done. Just, quick kind of interaction that is meaningful. I mean, we're able to answer people's questions, and that's good. But yeah, every platform has slightly different kinds of engagement that you're really trying to go for. And it could just be likes and thumbs ups and comments and replies or shares. I mean, there's all sorts of different types of engagement, and every one of them has a benefit. I mean, a different benefit. Shares are awesome. I mean, if you can share something that other people will share to their people and it has your company name in it, then that can be a great thing, and help get a lot more exposure in terms of beyond just the circles of influence that your brand is already known in. So, but how do you do that, right? I mean, how do you create the content that people will want to share?
Yeah.
Well, good luck figuring that out, because man, it's a moving target.
It is a moving target. And some people, hop on trends. They hop on, they stay in Google Trends. And when there's a trend there, they try to figure out a way to take what they do and kind of squish it into a trend. The latest one is this whole Taylor Swift thing. You're talking about hopping on a deal. Now the NFL's become a big deal with all the Swifties because she showed up at a Kansas City, deal. I mean, it's everywhere. So it's kind of funny. But that is an example of engagement opportunities. I mean, that is an opportunity. It's big. And, we know Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce is, we aren't them. So we're not going to probably get that big opportunity, but that's an example of that. And speaking of that, we've got 3 people that's given us a big thumbs up. So thank you, Mark Hudson, Lee Roth down there in Houston, and Linda Roydhouse. Thank you so much for being on and giving us a thumbs up and a like, because that's an engagement opportunity. And we are glad you are here. So the next thing is local search and discovery. This, to me, in my opinion, is what is the most difficult thing to do right now in any platform, okay, is local search and discovery. Outside of just search, all right, because there are the search platforms have made it pretty easy for you to at least aspire to local search and discovery. But what I find a lot of times, and what we're finding over and over again, especially in the social media platforms, is when you're local and people are trying to discover you, if they are searching for you or searching for what you do, you can be discovered in the search box. A lot of people don't know that Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those platforms are search engines, okay? So if people are searching for what you do and looking for what you do in those platforms, then yes, you can be discovered and there are local searches in there. So make sure that if you're doing social media, that you're putting your local information in there, that people know you are local, where you're local to, and what you do. It's really, really important. But on the flip side, people are, and this has been happening for a while. 10 years ago, you could get in Facebook and you could run your business. We have several clients that did that for a number of years. And the only time that they started reaching out to companies like us is when Facebook fell off the cliff and they were no longer getting the engagement, no longer being discovered by their people, and we find that Facebook and Instagram, I don't know about TikTok because we really haven't run ads and whatnot on TikTok yet, because most of our clients' audiences aren't on TikTok, or if they are, they're just not big. However, with the other two, yes, we've run some things over there. And what we find is when we run ads, when we get an ad that really works, it works for about 6 to 8 weeks and then it falls off. And it's like, why? Why all of a sudden did it fall off? Well, what they tell you is, well, you're running the same ad over and over and over again. Yet used to you could do that and it wouldn't fall off because different people are seeing it. So either one of two things was happening. Either they keep showing it to the same group of people, which means your reach is not there, or, and this is a big or, they are manipulating things because they want to make money. Now, I say that because Google's in a lawsuit right now, and it came out the other day. That's exactly what they've been doing.
Really?
So, yes. So if you want the article, email me, Taylor@sparkmarketer.com, and I will send you the article about what Google has basically under oath admitted to doing on ads. I think they're all doing it. I think all the platforms are doing it, and I think it's one of the reasons that marketing companies have been banging their heads up going, what the heck's going on, for a number of years. So really interesting. I have no idea what's going to happen out of it, but I'm just saying it's there. So just remember, you can be discovered, but you're not going to get you're not going to get the amount of people that you used to seeing everything, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way I know to put it.
Yeah, that's good.
So that brings me to advertising options. Don't you love it when I just totally bing them for screwing up the advertising, and we're going into advertising options?
Well, they're the only game in town, and that's, call it a monopoly if you want. That's kind of what it is. When it comes, not the only game, but these online search platforms, these social media platforms, these are places that if you want to be found online, you have to consider spending money to advertise in these places. So even though they may be being unfair, you still have to deal with them. It's not like you can just go, well, I'm done with that. I'm not advertising in Google anymore. I'm not going to do any Facebook marketing, because that's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Exactly. So you have to get in there, but you got to get in there with your eyes wide open, know what you're doing, know that you're probably going to have to change those ads every 6 to 8 weeks, something else. And every time you change your ad, when you get one that's working and you change it, there's no guarantee the next one is going to work.
Yep.
So, that's just part of what you do, and part of what marketing is about is going out and testing and trying to figure out all those things. So, which brings me to my last thing, that no matter what you do, whether it's organic or, I don't know why that's not showing. That's why. Okay, here we go. So we've had a lot of weather, so I don't know if something's going on there, but with advertising options and whatever, or if you're going to do organic, it doesn't matter. You need to make sure that you know how to use and track the analytics. because that's really the only thing we have. Now, I'm going to say a couple of things that are probably other marketing companies are getting mad at me for, and that's okay. I'm have my opinions. One of the reasons that we've never built a internal platform for Spark Marketer, that we've not done that, is because I don't want to skew any of the data. I want to work with third-party data, because that way people know I can't go in and mess with any of Google's data. I can't go in and mess with any of Facebook's data. I can't mess with anybody's data. Now, with that said, I think there are companies that do have their own information, that have data that absolutely matches and marries up with what Google has and what Facebook has. And they don't marry 100%, all right? But they're close. When I get frustrated is when people tell me that the data that they're getting sent to them is not matching the data that's on their analytics. It's not matching the data that's in Facebook. They can't match things up to where it can be attributed to the things that the companies are telling them it can be attributed to.
So the conversions, the clicks, the visits, all of those data things that are part of the metrics of your website. How well is your website doing, or how is it performing in these various interactions or engagements?
Right.
Yeah, it's very frustrating when they don't line up.
When they don't, and again, they're not going to line up 100%. I've never seen them be exact, but it's close. I mean, it's in the ballpark. Here's the other thing, though, that's really interesting about this is what they attribute to is, well, they got on Facebook, so we're going to take credit, or they got on Instagram, we'll take credit, or they got on Google, and we're going to take credit. That's all fine and dandy. The reality is people are everywhere. All right. When I go do something, I don't just look up a website. I'm looking up their reviews on social. I'm looking up their reviews on the Google Business Profile. I'm looking at their website on the information that they have. I may go and, see if there's any other articles about them. There's a lot of things that I do. And then I may go out and say, hey, does anybody know anything about this company that you can tell me is good or bad? So people don't just come to one place anymore and say, yep, that's my guy. They just don't. We're seeing this massive amount of movement around the web and from TV. They could be watching a commercial on television, and while they're sitting there watching, I've seen my wife do it. There's something on TV and they want you to go to their website, and my wife's over here buying it on Amazon. Okay. Well, how did she find it? Well, she found it online. Not really. It started on TV. So these are the challenges of today that we have to be very aware of, whether we're using social media or different, television, radio, Nextdoor, SEO, whatever it is. These are the challenges to understand that things are happening in way more places than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, tracking is not a one-to-one type thing anymore. It's multiple touches, multiple exposures before someone takes an action. And usually the only thing you know about is the last thing that they did before they, before you were talking to them, which is most likely a phone call. So things like tracking numbers, those things become important. Using a tracking number on your social media is a good way of knowing whether or not your social media engagement activities and efforts are worth it or working. And that helps with getting better analytics about whether or not you're getting a return on that investment.
And it could very well be that if you're doing Facebook ads, Google ads, television, SEO, whatever else it is, it could very well be that somebody touches every single one of those things before they decide to choose you. And,
likely.
yeah, and it's really difficult to say, so which one don't I do? What do I not do? You know, yeah, it's hard. And so it becomes this, putting everything together. And man, I wish I could find something that would just go from one thing to the other so we could track how'd you come in, where'd you go from there, how'd you go there, all the things. The best thing I know is the heat maps that we've got set up that show people at least where they go on the website. So if they go over to social media on the website, we can see that people are going to your social when they're on your website. So that's one place, we can track some things, but do we know all the other things? Yeah, no, we just don't.
No, and it's a rich man's game, or it's a big business game. The more money you have to invest in metrics, the more complete a picture you can get from your analytics about where your customers are coming from and how they engage with you, and the entire life cycle of a customer journey, as we call it. But for most home service businesses, they're too small to make use of much of that technology. And it's not just the technology; it's knowing how to use it and being able to run campaigns that are large enough to get the kinds of results that are meaningful, statistically meaningful. When you're dealing with dozens, it's harder to draw conclusions about what was successful or not, versus if you're getting thousands or tens of thousands, right? If you can compare two campaigns, one of them got 436 and the other got 10,920, with a relative certainty which one of those campaigns was the one that was the best, and where to continue putting your money. But we're talking about a lot of our clients and a lot of people in home services. One campaign in one place might give a result of 12, and another one in another place might be 13 or 14. Well, how do you make a real determinative, statistically significant decision about which one of those was best? It's really hard not to be able to do that successfully. So you just have to blanket cover, right? I mean, it's about effective coverage as much as anything else at this level, or at with small businesses. Just making sure that you're being found in all of the places, because those ones and twos and threes at a time add up and become real business. And it is significant. You can't afford to not do it. But it's it's a different, metrics is completely different for our smaller companies than it is for our larger companies.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I'm going to put this up because I think this is really true. The tracking is tough. It's just tough. People go to Google, click on Yelp. Yelp is still really big. I know where Terry is, out in California, the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington area. And they go to Yelp because they're going to look at reviews. They're going to look at the people on there because that's where they go, where a lot of the country just stays on Google. I mean, they stay on Google, look at Google reviews, maybe go to Facebook, look at Facebook reviews, and they're done. So how do you track it? Is it a Google contact or a Yelp contact? I mean, seriously.
Well, so I'll answer this. I mean, I'll just think about it. There's a subtle way that you can ask the question to help you differentiate between where some or why somebody decided to call you. And I like to ask the question, what made you decide to call us today? Because that is going to give you a better idea. They're going to tell you, I saw your Yelp reviews and they were really good, or well, I talked to my friend and they recommended you. And then I talked to another friend and they said, yeah, you're the company. And then I got on Facebook and I saw all of your reviews and I thought, why not? Let's do this. So they'll tell you more of a story versus the easier question, which is, where did you hear about us? Right. That's a check the box kind of thing and just get on with it. And a lot of people will just say Google because it's an easy thing to say. and they know that you're not really asking a question that's inviting a story. It's just a pat answer they need to give to check the box and move on. But if you ask the question that's more inviting, which is, what made you decide to call us today, you'll get a little more information. And that's a more qualitative kind of, you may discover some of the pathways that people travel to your door through the various marketing efforts that you do cumulatively.
I think that's good. I think that's really good. Well, we've gone over
6 minutes. Well,
6 minutes. So, but it was a good 6 minutes. I think it was worth every bit of it.
Absolutely.
So Spark Live is also released as a podcast. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Podvine, or your favorite player. And next week, we are going to talk about creating that engaging social media content. Boy, I can't read. It's what happens. So creating engaging social media content. So people will contact you. How's that?
There you go. Good save.
Anyway, guys, thanks again for being a part of it. We love it when you guys are here live. For those that are listening to the recording, if you ever have any questions, you can always get me, Taylor at sparkmarketer.com, Carter at sparkmarketer.com. Always love to entertain questions, and we do a monthly Q&A, and we'll bring them here and answer them. So thanks again. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.